Hi, my name is Craig Cox, and this is my personal reflection video for TLED 301. My first experience in a classroom outside of being a student was at Murray Christian Elementary. I volunteered there for 2 years to get an idea of what being a teacher is like. Although I was working with a third grade teacher and I wanted to teach high school, it still helped to observe a teacher do the things you might not notice as a student sitting in their class. But I guess more than anything, I learned how to observe what a teacher does and borrow some of their strategies. My senior year, I took a class called Teachers for Tomorrow that allowed me to observe a ninth grader science class. We were required to design and teach one lesson plan, so I eagerly did mine the first week. I was extremely nervous that day, but I settled after class started. Fortunately, everything ended up going very well, and I taught several other lessons after that. Last year, I was able to sub for Norfolk Public Schools, even though I was 18 at the time, because I met the 15 credit requirement. I'll never forget my first class at Maury High School. Immediately students were asking how old I was. I told them to guess and they said 20. Of course I went along with that. There were a few 19-year-olds in the class. I subbed at a few elementary schools too, just because I wanted to get as much experience in different settings as I could. But mostly I stuck to high school, like Booker T, where I ended up doing my observation for this class. After meeting the social studies department chair, I was quickly put into a classroom to start observing. By now I'm used to urban schools, but this class was particularly wild. The teacher was struggling to get anything done and kept shouting the whole time. After the bell, we started talking, and she asked, "You know what you're getting yourself into, right?" I just laughed and said, "Yep." But honestly, I think she made the class harder to teach by yelling at them. I'm 100% sure the class is normally wild and it gets frustrating, but there's more effective ways of dealing with it than yelling. All but one other teacher used different methods than screaming, and they all had much less hostile classes. And it wasn't that they just happened to have the good kids, because I saw the bad kids from the first teacher's class quietly doing their work. The difference was that the teacher made sure they knew what they expected from them early on and could calmly ask the class to settle down and start their work. They knew that to get respect they had to also give it. But I also learned a lot about the workings of a school as a whole. When you go to Booker T for almost any reason, you will undoubtedly be asked by someone what you think of the school. I was asked this by every teacher I observed, several students, 2 women in the office, and even a parent that I met. But the purpose of this question wasn't just for casual conversation. Everyone knew the school had problems, and everyone seemed to have already given up on it ever succeeding ever again. The teachers were more than willing to talk about how bad the administration was and how overwhelming teaching at Booker T could be at times. They said that the principal is hardly ever there, and that the students know it and don't respect them because of it. Because of the number of fights and other problems, there are security guards patrolling every single hallway. In 30 hours of being at the school, I personally saw 2 fights. Honestly, near the end of this observation, I started wondering if I could be any better than the teachers that just yell at the students. But luckily the last teacher I observed was the best, Mr. Ward. I don't mean best as in he was better than anyone else. I mean I benefited most from observing him. He was able to not only get the attention and respect of the same students the other teachers were likely afraid of, but also get them interested in the topics he was teaching. I talked with him for a while after class, and he told me the most important thing is to have a positive attitude, and the class will notice it. They will notice you aren't just trying to make them have a bad day and be their enemy. You're there for them. I'm very glad I got to do this observation. It taught me a lot about teaching strategies, how schools work, and even how to stay motivated. Next semester I'll start subbing again, and I can't wait to go back to Booker T. Washington High School.